You have to unmute.
Good morning, all of you. We are going to start with the prayer by Karuna Bahadur, and then we are going to do a topic forgetfulness and greed. And we start with Karuna Chaudhary.
Thank you, Urmilji. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Purana Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitaamrutavarshiniim Bhagavatim Ashtadashaadhyayiniim Amba Tvamanusandathami Bhagavat Gite Bhavadveshinim Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Fullaravindayatapatra Yena Tvaya Bharatatailapurnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradeepaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraikapanaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gitamrutaduhe Namaha Sarvopanishado Gavo Dogdha Gopalanandanaha Partho Vatsasudhir Bhokta Dugdham Gitamrutam Mahat Bhishmatronatata Jayadratha Jala Gandharanilotpala Shalyagrahavati Krupena Vahani Karnena Velakula Ashvathama Vikarna Ghoramakara Duryodhanavartini Sottirna Khalu Pandavairananadi Kaivartakah Keshavaha Parasharyavachas Sarojamamalam Gitarthagandhotkatan Nanakyanakakesaram Harikatha Sambodhana Bodhitam Loke Sajjana Shatpadairaharaha Pepiyamanam Muda Bhuyat Bharat Pankajam Kalimalap Pradvamsina Shreyase Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangulanghayate Girim Yatkrupatamahau Vande Paramanandamadhavam Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutas Sunvanti Divyaistavayir Vedai Sangha Padakramopanishadayir Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavasthita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yogino Yasyantanna Vidussura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. I will start with shlokas now.
Yes.
So, first shloka is chapter 15, shlok 15. Sarvasya chaham rudhi sannivishto mat तस्मृतिर्ज्ञानमपोहनै च वेदैश्च सर्वैरहमेव वेद्यो वेदान्तकृद्वेदविदेव चाहम्. Chapter 18, Shlok number 61. ईश्वरः सर्वभूतानां हृद्देशेऽर्जुन तिष्ठति भ्रामयन् सर्वभूतानि यन्त्रारूढानि मायया. That's chapter 14, Shlok number 70. सत्त्वात् संजायते ज्ञानं रजसो लोभ एव च प्रमादमोहौ तमसो भवतो ज्ञानमेव च. Chapter 16, Shlok 21. त्रिविधं नरकस्येदं द्वारनाशनमात्मनः कामः क्रोधस्तथा लोभस्तस्मादेतत्त्रयं त्यजेत्. The last one, chapter 17, Shlok 25. तदित्यनभिसन्धाय फलं यज्ञतपः क्रियाः दानक्रियाश्च विविधाः क्रियन्ते मोक्षकाङ्क्षिभिः. Thanks for mentioning.
Okay, thank you. Now, to get back to topic forgetfulness, in 15.15, it says, I am seated in the hearts of all living beings, and from me comes memory, knowledge, as well as forgetfulness. Now, in most verses, there are three things that he addresses. And in this verse, he's addressing memory, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Now, when he says, I'm seated in the hearts of all living beings, what does he mean? Hearts of all human beings, all other living creatures and plants also. Heart here means dwelling in the positive and divine qualities of a human being. For example, God is in love, tolerance, charity, kindness, heart that is tranquil, peaceful, alert, and determined to understand the purpose of life and attain liberation. Because many times the word heart comes, and it is not the pulsating heart, but in our goodness of our heart. Then he talks of memory. Past experiences influence our present and future actions or activities. Our memory influences our current choice of activities, and it impacts our future. And unwanted records are forgotten and destroyed, and purposeless retention of memory is deleted. Just like in the computer, we delete a lot of unnecessary emails and recordings or saving. Same is with our memory. It deletes a lot of things. So if you're on a positive path towards liberation, anything that has negative or bad experiences that are stopping you, they will get deleted the more virtuous you get and the more you try to be closer to God. And what does he mean by knowledge? Knowledge means refining the facts and data that we already know and improving knowledge which impacts our intellect and sense of discrimination, analysis, reflecting, and reaching the conclusions that guide us in the right direction. And why do we do all this? Because the people who are doing all this, they're trying to attain liberation and free themselves from the bondage of birth and death. So when he says, I am seated in the hearts of all beings, and from me comes memory, knowledge as well, what does he mean? Lord Krishna or God says, I alone am to be known by all the Vedas. That means I am in every word that is written in the Vedas. I am the author of the Vedant and the knower of the Vedas. God has blessed human beings with faculties of knowledge, memory, but the brain is our computer's hardware and the mind and intellect is its software. Human brain is still way above the computers, but I don't know after this artificial intelligence whether we'll be smarter than the rest of the things in the world. But there is something else fascinating about the brain, human brain, and that is that it can forget the data or information that has no value and the data that is purposeless. So it's very important to now understand what we have meant by the topic forgetfulness. Means make place in your brain for something that is more valuable, more positive, more virtuous, and delete anything that is negative or useless. I alone am to be known by Vedas. This part of the verse implies that knowing God is divine, who is divine, then the Vedas are also divine because Lord Krishna is the author and the knower of the Vedas. And Lord Krishna also says the objective of Vedas and scriptures is to turn people's attention towards God and eventually engage them in loving devotion to God and Guru. Thereby, to reach the goal of life, the fulfillment of existence, and liberation from the cycle of birth and death, it is very important that we read the Vedas, and that's what he means. You read them, you are getting close to me because I am there, omnipotent. And then comes forgetfulness. I've already talked about it, but to put it in the right perspective, forgetfulness is weeding out imperfect knowledge when a person is cultivating good new knowledge. It is said to forget is an essential prerequisite in acquiring fresh knowledge. Now we do 1861, and that one is also about forgetfulness. But it has a deeper way, it is hidden in the words, so we'll find it. The Supreme Lord dwells in the hearts of all living beings. O Arjun, according to their karmas, he directs the wandering of the souls who are seated on a machine made of material energy. Pretty roundabout words. What Lord Krishna is saying is that the soul eventually depends on God. Whether a person chooses to obey God or not, he is still controlled and influenced by the higher power. Lord Krishna says, the body in which a human being resides is a machine made from God's material energy. The material energy in each machine is based on his or her karmas. A man gets the body based on what they deserve. Each body is a function of its own karmas. Again, Lord Krishna says that I'm also situated in a man's body as he is observing and keeping account of his good and bad activities. Isn't it scary that whatever you're doing, somebody is sitting there so close to your heart and watching? I'm watching you. Have you heard the song? I'm watching you. I'm watching you. And that's what he's doing. God is always watching us. Hence, he tells Arjun, you may as well surrender to me, that whatever is happening with God's will. And uh, so do not forget the Lord, because he says he is omnipresent and without whose commands nothing ever happens. Now, a very important concept comes up here. Only in his presence things happen. So this aspect of God is called Ishwar. In this role, he is omnipresent, he is very close to our heart, and he's always watching us. So who is Ishwar? Ishwar is the God who is omnipresent, but his department is to keep an eye on our karmas and always be close to our heart. Everything revolves around him like an invisible hand that manipulates the dolls in the puppet play. Just visualize a puppet play. You don't see the people in the back who are manipulating all the strings, and the puppet has no existence. They have no vitality, no emotions of their own. They are only the expression and will and attention of the unseen hands behind them. And in our life, who are these unseen hands? Ishwar. Ishwar is Krishna only, and they call him the local super soul who's sitting in the heart of living beings. That's the definition. Therefore, the Supreme Being functions through the sum total bodies as the cause of all action. Life functions in each one of us, and He is the master controller, the director, and the Lord of all our individual activities. He is Lord of the universe, the sum total of individuals, and He's Ishwar. Now, how does it relate to forgetfulness? We never saw anything forgetful here. Here is the answer. After a person dies, he forgets his past deeds. But the super soul, as the knower of the past, present, and future, remains the witness of all his activities. So your records are still kept. It's like your medical records, your karma records are with Ishwar. So you died, your body is gone, you forgot everything, but the mental impressions and your deeds are still recorded with Ishwar. The new living entity is fashioned by the material nature, and it works according to his past mental impressions and his karmas. This new living entity is not independent. Therefore, the individual person is always under the control of super soul, Ishwar, God, whatever you want to say. Which the living entity is the jiva. We are, and what is that little piece of soul or atma, jivatma, whatever you want to call it, in you, it's like a puppet seated on a machine made of material energy. Now, what is material energy? Maya. Under the spell of Maya, and what is Maya? Maya is Prakriti composed of three gunas. So we all know that. So Maya is subservient to the super soul, and its job is to manipulate your personality and all, or based on your past karmas. And eventually, if you do continue to do good things, you will reach liberation and moksha or whatever. So there is a Lord within us, the power inside me that rules over and guides all my activities. Only by Ishwar's grace, we will eventually bring some peace within us. So, forgetfulness here means that when you die, you may forget what you did, but those mental impressions that go to the next body or the person or your piece of soul that goes does carry those mental impressions. Plus, God knows what kind of a person to fashion you depending on your karmas. And I think most of you have read enough about it, and I don't need to go further. So, next topic is greed. Chapter 14.17, it says, from the mode of goodness arises knowledge, from the mode of passion arises greed, and from the mode of ignorance arises negligence and delusion. Okay, from mode of goodness arises knowledge. What does this mean? Knowledge leads to wisdom, better intellect, better discrimination between right and wrong. Simultaneously, goodness calms the desires of the senses for gratification and then develops the feeling of happiness, joy, and contentment. On the other hand, mode of passion, it further inflames the senses. It adds fuel on top of the burning desires. The mind gets more out of line, and a person is trapped by it and yearns for more wealth, status, fame, and glamorous pleasures. They multiply. All such pursuits, in the end of it all, are meaningless. 16.21. It says there are three gates leading to the hell of self destruction for the soul. One, lust, which transforms into anger, which further deepens into greed. Kam, Krodh, Lobh. Lust, anger, and greed are the seeds from which sprouts demonic vices. And what are those vices? Just to recapitulate from chapter 16: hypocrisy, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, ignorance, and then the subsidiaries of these are jealousy, envy, malice, violence, and you can keep going. That is why, out of all these, lust, anger, and greed are called the three gates of hell, according to Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna strongly and emphatically alerts Arjun and the readers of Bhagavad Gita to avoid these vices. Otherwise, they are digging their own grave of self destruction. Word 17.25. Solution to overcoming lust, anger, and greed. See, the topics that we are doing, eventually we are trying to find the solution, how to get over them. To perform actions with right mental attitude, to practice austerity, sacrifice, and charity, and three, utter the word tat. See, in every verse again, there are 3 points. So he says, solution to overcoming lust, anger, and greed are to perform actions with the right mental attitude, practice austerity, sacrifice, and charity, and three, utter the word tat. Now, let's go over these 3 things. Those who surrender all the acts to God and seek no fruitive rewards because they truly want to be free from material entanglements caused by being in the mode of passion, they have realized the painful consequences of their rajasic activities. They want to get out of that, and so they say, Om Tat Sat. What does that do? It symbolizes the different aspects of the absolute truth. Om is the impersonal God or the super being or Brahman. And they are talking of the universal oneness of the absolute truth. And by saying that, they are giving up their ego and get out of the charm of Maya. Tat. It is uttered for consecrating activities and ceremonies to the Supreme Lord. It means they are surrendering all acts to God. And they say, whatever we are doing, God, we offer to you. We are doing our duty, but we are not asking for rewards. So by saying Tat, we are saying, please add divinity to our acts and just bless us. They do not ask for rewards. So Sat means eternal goodness and virtue in the mode of goodness. So what is Om Tat Sat? Together they are saying to God, please, we are surrendering to you and we are prepared to transcend. And that's where, according to their karmas or according to the fact that they have washed out all their sins or karmas, they will be receiving God's grace. This Om Tat Sat has been given so much importance in these verses. I just want to recapitulate the Om Tat Sat, what it is, because it needs to be understood in a deeper way. Om Tat Sat represents the unmanifest and absolute reality, Parabrahman, or the Supreme Being. Om Tat Sat means that which is true. Om Tat Sat is chanting. When you chant that, it awakens and cultivates higher consciousness as a means of connecting with the true self. Om Tat Sat is the eternal sound of God. Om Tat Sat is the threefold name of the Supreme Soul. Om Tat Sat is always recited in all region performances during the study of the Vedas. And Om Tat Sat is the threefold definition of Brahman, means God is here, God is above, and God is below, implying that God is everywhere. And if you chant Om Tat Sat at the end of yagnas and ceremonies, they imply that we are dedicating all our austerities, charities, sacrifices to the Almighty with full faith. So it's nice to go over these. That's why I wanted to elaborate a little bit about Om Tat Sat. So, uh, this is all that I have to say about greed. But if you read chapter 16 on your own, other than this 1621 that we read, it really will bring back to you that what these impulsive desires are, and to discard the injunctions and to attain perfection, it should be the supreme goal in life. It will be nice to refresh yourself with chapter 14, which is this Dev Sur Sampath Vibhag Yog, because it does remind you of all the divine qualities that we must inculcate in us, and how to forget about the bad qualities or demonic qualities. And that's the only way to wash out the dirty water in a bottle and fill it up with clean water. So now, as always, I like to do a little um, ending with a little poem on greed, because greed is a very, very important trait that needs to be removed from our system. Greed, greed, greed. It has so many facets. I may as well call it a creed. No matter where or when or how or why it thrives, it is a certainty. It touches all our lives. The greed factor exists in many ways than take. It leads a healthy life in methods it can make. Greed, greed, greed. What is yours is mine. If I want it, I will try. This happens all too often with no reason why. Greed, greed, greed. You do not think it's wrong to steal in daily fare, where you find ways where you can get more than your share. Oh, greed, greed is seen in every which way. The conquest wars, elections, and competitions, be it fame or shame. Perhaps there is one point on which we can all agree. What is in it for me? So that is what greed is, and that's what we have to. It is fathomless. It's a well. So to get out of greed is a tremendous source of contemplation, reflection, and trying to not be so greedy. Uh, Now, this is all I have to tell you, people, and we are open to discussion. Recording can stop, and we can all start the discussion. Sorry.